The budgets for big businesses are massive. You would never compete against them. But the actual budget for the local franchisee is smaller than yours, probably.
Keep in mind that marketing a business is about tapping into your ideal clients' mindsets, their behaviors, their customer journey.
AI tools are fantastic as worker bees, but every output of AI really needs to undergo human review, verification, vetting.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. There is no other podcast quite like this on the net. I'm Ian Cantle from Outsource Marketing, and today we are exploring an intriguing question. At least I find it intriguing. Hopefully the other marketing guides do, and hopefully you do as well. We asked AI what the top marketing questions people are asking today in 2025. But then we even took it further. We added a twist. We asked the AI what questions should people be asking about their marketing in 2025 that they're not asking. And what it came back with has shaped today's discussion. So join us as we explore these really important questions that every small business should be asking, not just because AI thinks so, but because they're actually good questions. And it will help you stay ahead of the curve. So I'm joined by my fellow marketing guides, Ken Tucker from Changescape Web, Jeff Steck from Tylerica Systems, and Paul Barthel from Changescape Web as well. And together, we have decades of experience helping small businesses just like yours navigate the ever-changing world of marketing. So let's dive in. So Ken, my first AI-driven question is for you. How can we integrate AI into our marketing strategy without losing our brand's personal touch? Remember, AI came up with this question that we should be asking.
Yeah. Well, AI was also insightful enough to add this, although it didn't put it at the very top, which I think has always got to be the top consideration. Keep strategic and creative decision-making in the hands of your team to ensure that AI supports rather than replaces your brand, basically, and your authenticity. I can't stress that enough. AI tools are fantastic as worker bees. They could be a lot of boost in terms of productivity, but ultimately, every output of AI really needs to undergo human review, verification, vetting, checking, whatever you want to call it. So, but having said that, you can use AI in a lot of great ways. You can use it as a great way to analyze data sets, basically to help you. For example, one thing that you can do is you could upload all of your Google reviews, save them as a PDF, upload them to ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT to summarize and highlight the differentiators that people, or the common themes that people are saying about your business. That can turn into great differentiators potentially. Or it could indicate that maybe there's a misalignment between what the customers are saying about you and what you really had envisioned with your business. So that's an important insight. But again, it requires human analysis. It's just processing the data and making it in a way to present it so that you can actually take action on it. Customer service tools, I think this is where AI is massive. And if you're not doing this today and you're not doing it by the end of the year, you're liable to be steamrolled. And what I'm talking about here is customer service tools, having a chat widget on your website that's AI driven, having an AI voice answering system, which we've talked about in the past. Just so important. Speed of response is critical. We've talked about it for a year and a half, 2 years now, about just how absolutely critical it is. And oh, by the way, if you don't look, we're in a stressed economy right now. If you don't want to have to race to the bottom and compete on price, and you want to compete on best value and your differentiators, guess what? One of those is speed of response. And if you're the first to respond, you take price out of the equation to a large extent. Now, it may start to creep back in a little bit, but still, you're well positioned to win that business opportunity if you respond first. So now, having said that, you need to train these customer support tools on your business. create frequently asked questions that you vet, that you review, that are still authentic and accurate about how your business operates. Anywhere from what are your business hours? Do you offer warranty? Anything you need to go back through and make sure that you've trained AI on the accurate information. Training the AI model about your brand and the content is one of the best ways to maintain consistency of your brand voice across platforms. Whether it's to train it to answer from a text widget, or a chat widget that people are engaging with on your website, or placing that phone call and letting an AI voice assistant handle that phone call, and then what outcomes do you want to have accomplished? What questions and capabilities do you want AI to handle? I think low-hanging fruit are, it's embedded in the name, right? Frequently asked questions. If there are questions that are repeatedly asked, you let AI do that work for you. And guess what? It's going to be consistent each and every time when you train it properly. And if you're using a call center, or even sometimes, staff from your team pick up the phone to answer it, just to answer the phone call, but it may not really be their area of expertise, and they may not give the most accurate or up-to-date answer. Not any maliciousness there. It's just, they do other functions in the business. So AI really can be your best friend here. Here's another cool thing about it. If you're doing it right and you're using a good solution for this, you can get a transcript of the AI voice conversation immediately after the phone call. Read those, take that information and modify the AI responses when and as you need to. Don't just assume once you set it up and you've trained it that it's going to be 100% perfect. It never will be. It may approach that faster than we may think. It may take a while for it to do that. Don't just assume. So take care of that. You want to also, though, pay attention if you're implementing AI technology to how your customers are dealing with it. Some people, like if you have an older customer base, maybe they get freaked out by some of this automated or AI technology. That can be a real thing. If you feel like that might be the case, one of the things that you can do is, give people a shortcut to talk to a live human, and just announce that right away. And be honest and say you've reached the AI voice assistant for company XYZ. If you'd prefer to talk to a live person, provide me with your contact information. We'll have somebody contact you right away. Otherwise, how can I help you today? Now that's a long intro and you may or may not want to do that. So you really have to think about, are your customers as concerned about it as you may think that they are? The only way to know that is to collect data, analyze the data, and see what impact it's having on people and conversions. I suspect you'll see the opposite. I think most people are well accustomed to using automated voice systems today. AI is better than the old traditional phone tree automated voice system by far, and it's much more interactive. And I'm going to say it again, keep strategic and creative decisions and final say in the hands of the human experts in your business to maintain accuracy and authenticity to your brand.
Yeah, awesome points, Ken.
I think that last point's super important. AI is a tool. It's progressing rapidly. It's a great tool. We've said it before, but it is not the expert in your business. You are, right? You've got to give it guide rails. You've got to engineer the prompts right. You've got to sanity check what it gives you and just not take the easy button. The easy button is, well, let me just use ChatGPT to write all my blogs. So they're going to be crap. They're going to be the mediocre middle that AI knows about. It averages everything out. But as soon as you put in the context and your unique value propositions, your voice, use it as a tool to get things done faster, it's going to be much, much more powerful and more beneficial to your business.
Yeah, and it doesn't know when it's doing it wrong, right? You need to, like when
if it did, it wouldn't do it.
when exactly when some of the chatbots, were early on like a year ago, and some of these voice agents, 6 months ago, early on, I always found it fascinating when we were testing them because you train them up. You would give it all the information from your website. You would populate it with frequently asked questions, should ask questions, even some details specific about how you do your business. And then you'd set it loose. And it's actually a really fun. Actually, I find it fascinating because, I think we as marketers know this, but I don't think people who don't do marketing every day, they don't realize that marketing is essentially taking a hypothesis and testing that hypothesis, because there's so many different variables involved in every single type of marketing that when Gary Vee says something's going to work for you, it might not. It depends on your industry, the makeup of your audience, who you're trying to attract, what the message is, who you are as a business. Like there's so many things. So that's really important. I was also going to say just personalization. Like I think AI is going to help us tremendously from a personalization standpoint. And I think this is close. It's not there yet, but like if you have a voice AI agent answering your phone, the part, because this question is specific about like how do you keep the personal focus in this, right? The people focus, is that one of the biggest hangups we all have when we call, especially larger businesses, but it happens with a lot of businesses with the phone trees, as you were talking about, Ken, where like, wouldn't it be great if it recognizes your phone number and actually answers the phone with your name? And then, when you have questions about your account, it does a little verification, but then it knows who you are and actually can answer those questions. I don't think we're far off from that kind of stuff, which is tremendously helpful for us as, people, consumers, patients. Hey, I need my last invoice. Can you email that to me? Right away, Ian, I'll get that to you, right? Like it's pretty slick stuff coming down the pipe.
Yeah, how annoying is it to answer the same question 5 times as you're passed along, through
Yeah.
an automated phone system? It's just everybody experiences it. And you're right, AI is not quite there yet, but it'll get there faster than the traditional phone system structure we've been using. That's for sure.
Yeah. I love it when you call we have this in Canada. I don't know if you guys have it in the US as well, but because we only have, probably like under 10 main telecom companies in Canada, they're and some of them are actually child companies of the bigger ones, right? So there's far less players here. But what I find really annoying is you've been their customer for 15 years. They have asked you the same questions or said, do you still reside at this address? And you've told them repeatedly for 10 years that you moved 3 times since then. And you hear them typing, oh, I'll update that for you. Clickety, 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 click. And then the next time you call, they have the old address again. And so frustrating. Burn down the telecoms. Just kidding. Jeff, here's the next question. What should our content strategy focus on with the rise of AI generated content?
Yeah, so there's, multiple aspects of that. It's how do you use AI in your content strategy? Do you use it to develop your content strategy? Do you use it to implement your content strategy? But I mean, ultimately, your content strategy still needs to come down to what you want to say to connect to your target audience, to connect to your ideal client, to state your case, to explain why you're different, to ask them to take an action. And again, AI is a tool, but it needs those guardrails. I think when you start putting guardrails on it, it's incredible what it can do for you. And we're seeing more and more content coming out of it, but you still those guardrails are the creativity, the authenticity, the experiences, that only you or only your business have. And that's what's going to help you stand out. That's what's going to resonate with your audience. I mean, anyone can go into ChatGPT and ask it for, give me 10 facts, give me a little bit of background on this, give me an overview or a summary of that. But they can't go into ChatGPT and say, tell me how this business has helped people and why that extends to me in my case. Maybe someday, as the reasoning gets better. But that level isn't there yet. So that creativity, that originality needs to stay into play and use that as your competitive differentiators. And as you see more and more businesses go into the AI realm, I think it will start to become apparent that you're not all in on the AI realm, at least visibly. You may be behind the scenes helping you get stuff done more productively, but you will still maintain that unique human connection perspective that is so important in marketing. But those guardrails, when you use AI behind the scenes, when you use it for production, can help you enforce your strong brand voice and build the messaging in a way that is true to your business and what you want to say and how you want to say it. And that's where, if you just go into ChatGPT, you're going to get something very generic, very blah. But if you go into an AI that possibly ChatGPT, because you can train it to a certain extent, create custom GPTs, but some of the other more sophisticated tools, you can give it a whole lot of background and you can give it examples of your speech patterns, your writing patterns, your emails, how you put things in emails, how you present things on social media, and it can start to look and sound more like you. So again, now it becomes a tool for when you're building stuff to build it along those guidelines and then create consistency and brand standards, even down to the values and how you look at the world and how you want to operate in the world. So again, I see the AI tools right now as a way to enhance content creation. Ken mentioned data analysis. They excel at data analysis. Idea generation, they're not creative, but they can, by kind of surveying the broad body of work what's out there, say, hey, what am I missing? What other ideas can come from this? They can give you some things maybe you wouldn't have thought of. I don't know if I would say that's idea generation. It's maybe ideation augmentation. It's helping you find things that you've missed, but still that creative spark, that originality is most likely going to come from the human. And then again, always monitor what it's doing. Ask the question. This is where critical thinking skills, and I'm without lapsing too much into social commentary, I'm concerned that critical thinking skills are going by the wayside. But without critical thinking skills, without asking the questions, does this make sense? Is this what we want to say? Is this how we want to say it? Is this leading me in the right direction? Is it leading my client or my customer in the right direction? We could be really missing the boat. I think, again, storytelling is a huge part of creativity, and storytelling connects with, us at many levels. Ken, you talked about story brands. Story brands come up before, the hero's journey, the way of telling things. You can give AI some guidelines and some formats, but it's not going to have necessarily a true first-person experience story. It can make something up and it can be pretty good and it can help connect, but you've got to go back to what are my experiences? What are my interactions with people that I want to bring in and put? So don't seed all creative content to AI, but again, use it to get you on the right path, use it to get you started, and then edit. I think Julian McCoy, one of her sayings that resonated with me from her is that, AI can let writers become editors. The first draft can be done now by the AI, but you still got to provide the context and you still got to take the editing approach to it. Beyond that, you can do sentiment analysis. You can analyze your social media. I think, Ken, you mentioned analyzing reviews. What are the common threads of reviews? What do I need to focus on? What maybe is there a secret sauce? If enough people say something good about you in reviews that you may think is second nature, well, maybe that's something that then becomes something that you focus on as, a key part of your message of difference, your unique value proposition. So you can use AI to analyze things and bring that in and then tailor kind of messaging. And again, when you create that feedback loop of if you're one of the more sophisticated AI systems and you take that information and then say, okay, now I want you to learn, here's another piece of information, another document, however it's formatted, that I want you to use when formulating your responses to my next questions. I think that can be pretty powerful. And really, I think people have lost focus on the chat part of ChatGPT. The intention with a lot of these GPTs is they are not go give me all this, go do all this. They are meant to be a back and forth interactive, an iteration process to help guide you in on achieving a result. So keep that in mind and plan on interacting with the tools and not just, I'm going to write one quick prompt. I'm going to use the same one every time and I'm going to get great results, because things are going to change. So stay informed of what's going on. How is the technology evolving? What are the latest developments? Ken used the term AI agents earlier. We're starting to see now some commercial products that are coming out that are letting you connect multiple AI things together. And then you have an agent, for instance, if you're creating a piece of content, you have an agent that enforces your brand voice. You have an agent that enforces your creative view. You have an agent that does the writing, and these things all feed each other, and you can actually pick and choose the right pieces and then build out, agentic flows to accomplish tasks. So keep in touch with how that's evolving and where are things going in the AI world. And as we move from artificial intelligence to more reasoning models and superintelligence kind of models, we're still a few years away. It's debatable how many, but kind of keep in touch with how things are evolving, just like everything in marketing, right? What worked last year might not work this year, or what this year is kind of like, it's not there yet, maybe great next year. So you got to stay up with it. But ultimately, I go back to the authentic voice, your commitment to being authentic, the storytelling you can bring in, the personalization you can bring in, the experiences you can bring in are what's going to set you apart, both to your ideal clients and people you're trying to attract, but also Google, right? The EEAT and Google, they're looking for expertise, they're looking for experiences, they're looking for authority. And that's something that's hard for a drive everything to the middle summary level for an AI to do, at least currently.
Yeah. Awesome stuff, Jeff. I love that you talked about critical thinking. Like that's a concern that you have, that people may lose that capability if we rely too much on it. The other part that concerns me, and I think you guys share this too, is that AI, if you ask it to create a strategy of something, it will try. The problem is that it doesn't bring the experience specifically the way you do, right? So we've all had failures, we've all had successes. AI is the amalgamation of whatever data it has at its disposal at the moment, right? And usually it's trailing. And so first of all, I think a lot of business owners, because AI does stuff, it's good at doing if I ask it to do something. And so they jump to the content creation, the image creation. They just want to do because, wow, I can do stuff I never did before. And it gets very exciting. And it is exciting. Don't get me wrong. We're excited the way we can use AI. But the part that I think they forget is the strategy. So we had a client like this once who decided to drop all their marketing because they were like, well, we can create all our content now. We can do all our blog posts. We can use AI to do everything. Social posts, AI, our content, our website. And what happened was things started to tank because they didn't know strategically what content they should be creating. They were just doing like do. They were doing all sorts of stuff. They were pumping out content faster than they ever had. Their receptionist was no longer a receptionist because she was an AI manager, right? She was running the AI. That was her job. But it's been fascinating to watch kind of the pendulum swing where I think businesses that did this without the strategic component are starting to go, my competitors are out competing me. Why? Like, we're doing all this stuff. Why are they out competing us? And I think that's something, maybe we'll get to the point where AI can do all of it. It's not there. It's not a replacement. It's a tool that we can use to do what we do better as practitioners of marketing, right?
Well, really, really good quote. And I'm not sure if it's a John Jantz original or if I just heard it from John, but and I think this summarizes that, is you won't be replaced by AI, at least not yet. You won't be replaced by AI. You'll be replaced by somebody using AI.
Yeah, it just makes us better at what we're already good at. So, Paul, let's jump to the next question. How do we measure the ROI, the return on investment of social media marketing effectively? So this was a question that the AI said there was a gap in, that people aren't asking this question enough. A lot of people gravitate to social media as the only channel, the best channel, the first channel, the highest ROI channel, which we as marketers know it rarely is. But I thought it was fascinating that this was in the top 10 list of, questions from all of the questions it sees that people are asking. It said people should be asking this question.
And it also asked Paul to answer this one, right?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I thought that was fun.
What else is fascinating is the person that tries to avoid social media at all costs is ask a question about social media.
That was me.
Fresh perspective.
But the thing is, look, this actually applies to any kind of marketing campaign. It really does. Because it's measuring. And first thing I'd say, going back to what you said, Ian, about that they think it's the first channel, the best channel. Social media marketing is not intent oriented. It's disruptive. People probably aren't going to Facebook saying, what's the best digital marketing company or whatever. If someone goes to Google and types in a search query, in reference for Google Ads, for example, if someone searches for something on Google, that's intent oriented. That's not how social media works. People are on there looking at their stupid cat videos or whatever it is, and then an ad pops up.
Is stupid or the video stupid?
Do you even know what we look at on social media, Paul?
I only watch smart cat videos.
There is no such thing as a smart cat. But anyway, but you're interrupting.
We just lost half our listeners.
Concerns and complaints can be sent directly to Paul.
That's right. We love cats and dogs, just so you know, people. At least some of us do.
I got nothing against cats. I just wouldn't own one. But you're interrupt whatever it is they're doing on Facebook, social media, whatever they're doing, you're interrupting them. It's not intent oriented. So I think that needs to be something that we need to keep in mind. And
are you thinking specifically of ads though, or are you thinking of like social media communities?
No, I'm talking about marketing ads on social media in relation to that. But first of all, you have to know what you're trying to measure. You have to have goals and objectives, because if you don't have goals and objectives, if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, it's rather difficult to measure it. So you have to start there. And all social media platforms, they have some kind of analytics. And you need to learn how to use that. And what I mean by that is analytics, whether it's Facebook analytics, Instagram, which is Facebook, Google Analytics, it's giving you almost raw data. And if you don't understand what you're looking at and you don't understand what the data is saying, and I could give you 1,000 examples from Search Console, but I won't go down that rabbit hole. But if you don't understand what the data is telling you, you can come to the wrong conclusion. So that can't be overstated. You have to understand what the data is telling you. And most people, they don't understand that. And you have to understand attribution. And I don't know, this third point about both direct sales, indirect benefits, brand awareness, customer loyalty, lifetime value. How many businesses do not know the lifetime value of a customer? It's astounding how many don't. And if you don't know those things and you don't understand attribution, then that goes back to understanding the data. It's kind of difficult to understand what the data is telling you if you don't understand attribution. I mean, there's a reason it's called data science, okay? There's a reason for that. But you have to understand this information so you can adjust your strategies and optimize what you should be going for. And Ken has mentioned this in the past, that a lot of business, they want to advertise on their lowest profit service or product or whatever it is. It's like, why would you do that? If you're going to pay money to advertise whatever it is that has the highest profit margin, not what has the lowest profit margin. That makes no sense. And you have to look at all this data holistically. Integrate your social media metrics with your website data. If you're running Google ads, you have to integrate all that data. Nothing exists in a silo anymore. 15 years ago, there were silos and it was a thing, and that just doesn't work anymore. So you have to look at all of this stuff holistically. And if you have the budget for it, use A/B testing. I mean, it costs money to do A/B testing, but it can definitely help you really optimize whatever your marketing strategy is. But like I said, it does cost some money, and things are changing faster than ever. And me and Ken were talking the other day that if you, as a small business, don't want to have anything to do with AI, you don't think you need it, you don't think it's important, I guarantee you, maybe not all, but some of your competitors are exploring this. And if your competitors start employing AI and they do it strategically and correctly, you're going to be left behind and you might not be able to catch up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
there are a couple of things, that I think are really dangerous about social media marketing metrics historically. One is they're largely vanity metrics, the number of likes that you have, or on a post, on a page, the number of followers, all of that kind of stuff. And then Ian, I know you've talked about with TikTok, that people see these great engagement rates, but how is that translating into any conversions? Do you have the data to be able to even track that? Or you probably aren't even putting those tools in place to be able to track that. So you get deceived because it's like, oh wow, I got 1 million views. Well, who cares? I mean, if you get 1 million views but 0 customers, what good is that doing you? I mean, it makes you feel good, I guess. But, is it putting money in your pocket and in your business? I don't think so. And then the other thing is, for small businesses, it's a chronic problem in that small businesses don't invest enough money in the ad campaigns that they're running to get the data, to do the A/B testing, to optimize the campaigns, to run 3 months worth of tests, to get the data, fully optimize the campaign so that they can dial in their cost per click or impression, whatever model they're using, in this case on ads, to be able to drive that price down as low as it can get, so that then now you have a highly optimized campaign running at a really good cost-effective level through months worth of testing and modification. And that takes money to get there. So don't just arbitrarily say, I'm going to spend $500 on this Facebook ad campaign. You can get away with that sometimes. I'm never going to tell you that that's not going to add value to your business. It can. It may not be the most cost effective, but it may generate the business you need. But if you're really serious about growing your business in a strategic, long-term way, you got to have the money to support the data collection so you can measure the ROI. And social media is one of the biggest culprits of where people never make that level of investment.
Yeah. I want to go back to you guys. Sorry, let me just do this one thing, Paul, and then you jump in. I was just going to say, so I think this question covers, like going back to Jeff's question, it was very perceptive, was it's easier to talk about the ad side of things because you actually have a measurement, you have measurement built into that, right? The tools give you measurement, and you can use pixels to directly measure, like, does somebody go to my website? Do they phone my company? Do they fill in a form? There's all sorts of stuff you can track, right? Which allows direct attribution, like what you were talking about, Paul. Where it gets mushier is on the organic social side. And I still believe, especially for a lot of businesses, especially like business to consumer, like a dentist or, lots of other types of services where you are part of the community, and you used to be much more part of the community in real human meetings and that kind of stuff. And that has gone away to a large extent, although there's still lots of events you can go to and community involvement. But I think part of that ecosystem of community is through social media. But you do need to come to the conclusion that it's very hard to measure the direct connection between organic social media and a new patient, a new customer. So you have to look at it almost more like a branding exercise for some of those things. And it's still very powerful as part of your holistic approach. But man, like some people think, well, if I just dump more time, energy, and money into my organic social media, we're going to get tons of new patients, tons of new customers. And I don't know about you guys, but I've seen that as like a 1 in a million kind of thing. Not, you hear about the 1 in a million all over the net, right? And they're the ones trying to teach that. Right. But in truth, very few people ever experience that.
Yeah,
or at conferences too. If you go to like a trade conference, you're always going to find one business that's just, they say they're just killing it on social media. Could be pulled at cult of personality. It could be because they have a really good set of connections. It could be because they're in a small community that leverages Facebook.
They were first.
They don't have any other media. There is no newspaper. There is no TV outlet. Facebook might be that community that everybody is on. Right. So,
and sometimes it's not true. Like when you ask probing questions, they're like, really? Oh, I don't know.
Oh, Ian, you just crushed me.
I'm sorry. And
that's why, and ultimately, organic social media metrics historically are vanity driven. They do it to hook you. And also remember, you're in an echo chamber. So if you're, whatever you see happening in social media is not across the wild web, or it's within a stovepipe of, what the social media platform has decided that is your little tribe.
Good points. Paul, did you have something you want to add?
No, I was just going to say kind of what you said is that I think the best way to look at social media is brand awareness. It's great for brand awareness. Beyond that,
and community involvement, right?
Yeah.
Human connection. That's the other thing that's actually really sad, but kind of humorous, but also detrimental, is that most businesses that use social media are rarely the people behind the businesses, right? Like they don't actively put effort into social media. They buy their way to get exposure. So even the social part is a bit of a misplay, right? They don't get their teams involved in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Ken, how can our small businesses compete with larger companies in SEO? I thought that was a great question. I mean, it's something we answer an awful lot.
Yeah. So I would say if this was, what is today? So if this was Tuesday, I would say hire the company that sent you the email that will guarantee you page 1 results on Google.
You would say that?
On April Fool's Day, yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
Oh, April Fool's.
Yeah, that was 2 days ago.
For everyone listening at a later date, Tuesday was April Fool's Day.
We're recording this. Yes, it is time delayed because we have to censor certain. No, I'm just kidding. But so here's the thing about this question that I love. It is very doable. You have to go into it with a mindset. It's a long-term strategy. It's a comprehensive omni-channel strategy, typically to win in SEO. But what's great about it is a small business who's competing with a larger business usually has the ability to niche down either in terms of service or product related keywords or locations, especially locations. And so it kicks in this idea of local SEO. So when there's a proximity intent associated with a search phrase, that's what you're trying to go for because it's going to show on the Google Maps results. It's going to show maybe some of the hyper-local content that you've put on your website. It's what's going to show up in the search results, or it may all feed up and show your homepage. But having that content gives you the ability to break through. Large companies, they do a lot of really great things, and they do them very well. I see this, for example, with a lot of franchises. They have massive numbers of backlinks for a website that's for a franchisee in a local market, way more than any small business is typically ever going to be able to get. But they don't do any of the hyper local stuff. They don't talk about the locations they serve. There are location pages, there are service area pages, there are service location pages, all various different types of content that is required to help you demonstrate to Google that you're working in the area, you're an expert in that service, and you deliver that expert service in that particular area. And it depends on how competitive it is. You may only need one of those three, or you may need all three. The other thing is, when small businesses run into this problem, they want to try to rank for every service that they do. You're going to have to pick your battles. If you're a home remodeling contractor you're going to have to ask yourself and prioritize this from a budgetary perspective. Most likely, is kitchen remodeling what I want to go for? Is bath remodeling? Do I do decks? Is that my end? And think about, the logical flow of your business. If somebody hires you to build a deck on a house, are they going to have you come in and, do a bathroom refresh? Probably not. That unless you provide some education and a path to guide them to that decision. But it's easier to get a customer who already is your customer to buy from you again, even if it's a completely different service. So you need to factor all these things out. So pick your battles on SEO. Don't try to rank for, like running shoes is the classic example. I want to win at running shoes. Well, you're not ever going to beat ASIC or Nike or Hoka or any of these major brands when it comes to that, or all of the major retailers that sell them, the big box stores and things like that. But what you can win at is custom shoes or even Hoka shoes in a particular location. You might be able to win that depending on the competition level. So AIs are really a good friend here. It's a great research tool. It can analyze other websites to tell you what those websites are doing well. It'll tell you and do an analysis of the amount of content that they may have on a particular page where that competitor is ranking very well. And it may say, they have 2,500 words on this topic, focused on this keyword focus. You've got 500. So in order for you to have a chance to win, you need to do this, 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 and this, and it will prescribe a pretty decent set of activities. It's not perfect. It needs to be vetted by a human. Absolutely needs to be vetted by a human. There is no such thing as AI set it and forget it SEO.
And Ken, vetted by a human that understands what it should be. Not just any human.
A human SEO expert, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can go in and there are tools, there have been tools around for a long time that will help you find backlinks that your competitors have that you might be able to also go get. But through the content creation, it can actually help you create content that is really good at helping you build backlinks. We're seeing a shift, I think, a little bit where mentions are becoming as important, not quite, but they're becoming more important. And a link directly from a website may be losing some of that importance. And so now you're seeing digital PR becoming a fresh new opportunity, not the old school PR that tools like PR Web and stuff like that did. All they did was build up their own massive archive of links and content on their own website, and they got all the SEO credit. But now, as you're doing this, having content on an authority website, like a a website that's dedicated to having press releases listed on it, now when they mention you, even if it's not a link back to your website, you're getting a mention, and Google is crawling the web and it's learning everything it can about your business, and it's seeing that you're listed here or you're listed there. These are all authority sites. Even if it's not a pure link, you have that opportunity. It takes work. It's not a set it and forget it. It's not a push button thing. If you're trying to win in a 3-mile radius and win on Google Maps, you may be able, depending on, if you're doing that in New York City, good luck. That's going to be a really hard battle. If you're doing it in, a 50,000 population community, then it's not going to be nearly as expensive. And you won't have to put all of the content maybe that you might have to otherwise. It's all based on competition. AI is a great way to help you understand what you're facing and give you kind of a roadmap, and even generate some ideas and generate some content that, again, you have to take and deliver to human experts, SEO experts, content experts, your brand expertise and experts, and make it yours so that it adds value to the overall web. Because ultimately, what the search engines have always tried to do is deliver the highest quality search results to the searcher based on the intent of their search. And that hasn't changed. And I think that's kind of the fundamental definition of search, regardless of whether it's AI driven or the classic historic Google model. That's the way it's been. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for small businesses, and the AI tools actually make it more affordable in a lot of respects to do SEO, the analysis and the planning, and in some cases the fixing than ever before. It still doesn't replace everything, and actually a really good SEO strategy is you're leveraging the AI tools to allow you to be able to do even way more at the same budget than you've been able to do in the past, which, look, everybody else is starting to take that same approach, right? So just because an AI tool might cost you $300 a month to be able to do SEO, that doesn't necessarily reduce your overall SEO budget, because you're not the only person who can buy that tool. I guarantee you, your competitors are buying tools like that, or hiring marketing agencies or whatnot to use tools like that. So it's still the same cost. It may even actually increase because it's more accessible and available to everybody than it has been before.
Yeah. Hire an expert. Honestly, like I'm saying this from experience, not because I'm an expert in this field, which I am, but it's because I see people make the bad decision of, hey, we're going to bring this in-house, just like I talked about before. And now you have to manage, you as the business owner have to manage somebody doing your SEO with a tool that the people don't necessarily know. Of course they can learn it, but it doesn't make them like a lot of people think their receptionists are going to do this. And it's such a silly concept. If you took a step back and said, well, how is this going to work? How will I even know if they're doing the right thing? How will they know if they're doing the right thing?
Are you talking about critical thinking, Ian?
I guess I am, Jeff. Yeah, that's the constant thread through this. But I did want to mention two quick things about competing with larger businesses. This is through observation as well as being on the other side, working with big businesses, is that the budgets for big businesses, especially national, international businesses, are massive. You would never compete against them. But the actual budget for the local franchisee for that business, or the location of the bigger business, if it's a corporately run business, is smaller than yours probably. Exactly. And their margins are probably less than yours. Like, that's just the way those tend to work. And then the other thing I've noticed is that larger businesses tend to have mediocre online presences because they're trying to satisfy all of their business, not a local business. And so you have a competitive advantage that you're probably not using right now. So get using it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I had a conversation with a client this week about, they're insistent upon writing content. And the whole purpose of the conversation was around SEO. What can we do, to improve our rankings and how we show up on Google. And it's like, look, I'm not critiquing your writing. You might be a really good writer, but from an SEO structure perspective, it's not there. You don't have a keyword focus that gives you an organizing principle to try to optimize your content around. You don't have a content plan about what you're writing toward to build a chain of interlinking content that validates and backs up what you're creating. And, they in this case, they aren't using AI. They'll be very much adamant against that. But the same principle applies. You can go in and, wake up in the middle of the night, have a thought, say, oh, that's a great blog post. The next night or 3 nights later, you might do the same thing. It's willy-nilly. It may not even be related to your business necessarily.
It's based on what you ate the night before.
Yeah, if it's not done with purpose, it's probably not going to help you with SEO. You may get lucky, but probably not.
It's at this point where we all join in and sing the Disney Frozen song "Let It Go," because even if you're a good writer, the chances are you will be the most expensive writer in your business if you, as the owner, are doing the writing, and you'll hold up the whole marketing process. So don't do that. We've all seen it. Hey, Jeff, next question. Are you guys still okay? You're still awake?
I'm here.
Awesome. So the next question is, what are the emerging channels for digital marketing in 2025? Pull out your crystal ball, Jeff. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll hit a few of them pretty quickly. I think if you go back to AI and you look at how AI is changing things, and Paul mentioned the types of search, the search intent, you start to bring that together and think about if you're going for showing up on Google results, then you probably need to be, a little more authoritative, a little more experiential, and be, part of the overview. But if you're going to be found by a voice device, and I don't want to mention any of them because I've got two in my office, one on my phone and one in my shelf, and they will chime in. But hey G, hey S, hey.
Ken wants to say it.
Those search, yeah, I know. I had somebody do that. I actually said that on a Zoom the other day. Somebody did that, and then she answered. Yeah, my wife and I call her she who will not be named. People are using, whether it's their phone, whether it's a voice assistant in their house, they're using those for search more and more. So you start to tune your content, your answers essentially to those queries. You start to tune it to line up with the language that's being used in those queries, with the types of intent that people have in those queries. So I think that changes a little bit. So optimizing for voice search is a thing now, and that needs to be looked at because people are using it. And if you don't, it's kind of like when, everybody was on a desktop and you said, oh, why do I need to be mobile phone friendly? Right? You're just going to fall behind. So you got to keep up with it. For certain businesses, I think augmented reality experiences are going to start to come into play. It may be a little bit early yet, but augmented reality, yeah, exactly. It's when you have goggles where you're seeing the true reality, what's going on in the world around you, but then using the devices, whether it's goggles, whether it's holding up your phone in front and using that to visualize something, that's going to come into play. So land developers, real estate developers, I've seen some where there's the big wide open field or the hill overlooking the view of the city, and they have an app where you can use your phone and move your phone around and visualize what a house would look like on that, or what the view from the second story of the house would be. So augmented reality, I think, is going to be something to look at. I think it's still a little bit earlier, but wearable technology is starting to come on strong. And as we merge AI with technology, I think Meta, Facebook, Instagram, the parent company Meta, has had a partnership with Ray-Ban for a while for glasses that have AI built into them. And it may start out as, recording conversations so you can go back and do analysis and summarizations of them later. Of course, there's ethical considerations. By the way, you guys are wearing glasses, so I'm assuming everything that I say is being recorded, right? But that's where things are going. The ability to, just like you can record a Zoom call and have AI transcribe it, you can record conversations in your glasses, or again, glasses can become part of augmented reality, where if they have images capability built into them, you can overlay images on things. I think paying attention. Yeah.
On that topic, one of the things that is happening with wearable technology is that it's making it easier to hire junior level people and entry level people to get them in. So for example, plumbers, it's literally a back-breaking job. You're bent over, and on your knees and stuff for so long. You can now, instead of having a plumber retire, they can actually sit in a chair on a beach, wear goggles, or be watching somebody wearing goggles, going in and doing, some things that don't require a master plumber. And they can guide them through that stuff while they're doing it. And they could probably do multiple service technicians at one time. So now you're having people who can stay in the workforce longer, but maybe work whatever hours they want to work.
Operate at a higher level.
Yeah, and from wherever they want to work, and no longer have the backbreaking labor aspect of the job.
Yep.
And at the same time, you're allowing people who don't have the expertise to come in and take advantage of that. So it's really massive potential with wearable technology.
And they'd be learning by doing, which is incredible.
Yeah,
being guided along the way. Yep.
yeah.
I think we've already talked about chatbots and voice assistants. I think those are huge right now. They're coming into their own. A year ago, I would have told you that chatbots, yeah, they're not that great. Voice assistants, yeah, they're not.
They weren't that great a year ago.
They weren't, but now they're pretty impressive, and they're only going to get better. So now is the time. If you haven't yet, now is the time to start looking at. And as a networking colleague of mine says, thinking into getting out ahead of your business, thinking ahead of what you want to do. Video marketing, videos been coming on strong for a while, but the ability to generate videos, the ability to produce, do video editing even with AI, and then get on platforms very cost effectively. You can start a streaming ad campaign for $500 now, where it used to be TV was out of reach for most small businesses. And the platforms are only going to expand. The ability to get stuff done and put stuff together is only going to increase. Blockchain comes up. I think that for most of us and the types of businesses we deal with, blockchain is like, well, what is that? Oh, you mean Bitcoin? But blockchain is a technology that powers Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But there's many, many other applications. It's really good about transparency and providing audit trails. So for certain businesses and security as well, for certain businesses, that's going to come on strong. You're going to see it a lot. And maybe it'll start trickling back through to like fraud prevention. When we run ads, there's a certain percentage of clicks on Google ads, Facebook ads that are just fraudulent. They're bots. They're competitors trying to drive up your advertising costs. I think blockchain is going to come in and you're going to see some things happening there. But really, it's about keeping up with it. We talked about A/B testing. This is the A/B testing of the marketing world. What's working today? What do we want to try and move into? We know a bunch of things that work, but let's do the A, let's do the B of some new technologies and see what works and try it out. And if it works, adopt it. And if it doesn't work, just push it down the road. We'll take a look at it again later. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for, on the one hand, improving, changing how you do things, but others is at some point, if you don't, you're going to be forced to, because you're going to have to keep up with what your ideal clients expect. Keep in mind that marketing a business is about tapping into your ideal clients' mindsets, their behaviors, and their customer journey, and providing what they're looking for to guide them down the path you want to guide them down, not just forcing them to, here's the way you got to, progress through deciding to do business with us. So I think a whole lot of things wrapped up in there, and I know we're running short on time, but that's what I would say.
That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I would like to add a couple things. One is I think faceless video is going to continue to come on strong, meaning that you can use AI to generate a video.
That's right.
and create the B-roll, write the script, do the voiceover for you all in at once. I think we talked about this last week. Again, you need to review the output, because my classic is it'll pull it, whenever it's showing somebody doing text messaging, it'll pull a phone from 2010. And you look at it and it's like, yeah, that ain't right. You generally don't want to have big distractors, in that type of content. And I think podcasts, because again, you can leverage AI in certain respects to help you with your podcasts. So I think that's going to continue to be a strong channel. The last thing I want to say is, this morning, I heard a story that Amazon is putting in a bid to buy TikTok. And if that's the case, if you sell products and anything that can be purchased through Amazon, if that were to come true, that's going to be a powerhouse channel with all of the other data that Amazon has, coupled with the engagement capabilities of TikTok. So it hasn't happened, but we're coming up on a deadline here. That decision may happen pretty quickly.
Great additions. Well, guys, the last question I was going to ask, and maybe you want to cover this in a short way, Paul, but the question was going to be, how can we use data analytics? And I know you talked a little bit about that, but this is specific about predicting customer behavior more accurately. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we call it a day?
Yeah, because I have a call in just under 15 minutes here.
All right.
Here's a short answer. Predicting human behavior is an exercise in futility.
Herding cats.
Google and Microsoft try to predict on a daily basis what I'm going to do next, and they never get it right. But
that's because you're an enigma.
Google Trends, I guess, would be a good place to start. But it really comes back to looking at your analytics and the customer journey. What do customers typically do from the time they contact you? Because you don't know that somebody's doing, well, you kind of know if they're doing research if they click on your ads, go to your website. But what do they do from the time they contact you to the time that the sale is closed? And your analytics can kind of tell you that people are going to your website, and this goes back to data attribution, that they go to your website, and then do they go to your social media channels, and do they click on an ad? And it's a convoluted kind of thing, because we talk about the sales funnel like it's something, we've talked about this in the past, like it's some kind of linear journey, and it's just not. So, but yeah, it really comes back to analytics, and Google Trends is a great place to look at market trends.
You know where I get really excited about this topic is when we think about CRM systems, right? Because once they're in your world, I think this is such an underutilized place, because big businesses do this, but small businesses do not yet. But I think
I don't know how you can run a business without a CRM. I just don't.
Yeah. But I just mean the predictive analysis of where you look at conversion rates between people's decision making. Like, we booked a discovery call. What happens between that conversion and like somebody filled in a form, then that meeting, and then did we convert into that person wanting a proposal? And then what happens after that? I think there's so many levers that businesses, especially small businesses, have an advantage that they can be pulling and trying to raise those conversion rates, that I'm hoping AI built, especially in some of the sophisticated tools we're using, like that AI, they'll build in AI algorithms that will help us determine, hey, what are some things we can do to A/B test what we throw out to prospects as they're going through their journey in our world that we have control of, because I think there's tons and tons of room where those leaky buckets are just losing tons of money right now for most businesses.
Look, AI is being built into everything, so you may as well just accept it and get on board, because it's like 30 years ago, somebody said, what the hell do I need with a computer? Well, you can't, computer, smartphone, whatever, and now you almost can't be a part of society without it. And AI is going to become that way. It's just going to become part of your everyday life. It already is. You just probably don't realize it, but it's going to become a bigger and bigger part of our lives.
And all the smartphones are now building it in, right? The newest gen smartphones all have AI built in. So what do you think, guys? Was this an interesting, test to go through, and some interesting topics? Yeah.
Good one.
I don't know that they were unique questions that we wouldn't have come up ourselves, but
no, I don't think so.
So, so from that perspective, AI didn't provide any unique insight, I don't think.
From that point of view, Ken, that actually just illustrates that AI is taking a body of work and summarizing it and driving you to the middle. It is this illustrates the point completely of it's not coming up with something so wowingly unique and out there. Now, in some cases, they can do make some pretty impressive connections, but it's illustrating the point of AI and what large language models are.
Yeah, you should.
But remember, this was also the questions people aren't asking that it thinks they should be asking, which we already know about as experts, but I bet our listeners don't know that.
And in some cases, I think they are asking these questions, so the AI didn't even realize it.
I think the other thing to keep in mind about AI is it can be a very helpful tool for you to identify disruption opportunities. And in a challenged economy, and where we're seeing massive shift disruption and breaking the business model and doing a blue ocean solution where there's no other competitor doing what you're doing or doing it the way you're doing it. There's never been a greater opportunity with, and so while AI, we've talked about from a marketing perspective, I think if you're hiring the right experts to help guide you in marketing, they're also going to be able to help you identify disruption opportunities, even in the service delivery, your business models, the opportunities that are out there, because they know how to take advantage of AI and vet it and engage with it to get useful outcomes.
You know what I love about this topic too today, or this topic set, was that we talked a lot about AI, but most of the questions weren't about AI. The AI was recommending questions people should be asking that weren't related to AI. So I thought that was kind of an ironic example of how, we need to keep the main things as well.
Was that AI ironic?
Well, AI hasn't caught AI yet.
AI ironic?
Yeah,
ironic.
Ironic. Oh, Ken. So everybody smash that subscribe button. We appreciate you joining us today. Share this with your friends. We really value you guys as listeners, viewers. If you're watching this on YouTube or some of the other channels, make sure you throw us your questions. We want to answer the burning questions you're having right now. And when I said smash that button, I don't think Ken smashed. Punch the button. Anyways, guys, until next week, keep calm, market on, keep your head up, keep doing the good things.